22nd of February 2025, boxing fans will witness one of the biggest events in the history of the sport. Billed as the fight card of the century, Riyadh season are hosting a boxing card so stacked, every fight could be a main event. This could be Turki Al Sheikh's greatest gift to boxing yet, and it's gonna deliver. In the co-main event of the evening, Daniel Dubois defends his IBF crown against an informed Joseph Parker, an outstanding heavyweight clash between two of the division's most informed fighters, bar Usyk. Dubois is on the run of his life at the minute and has risen from the ashes following early setbacks in his career that damaged his reputation and ego.
I will come back and get back to my boxing and iron out all my imperfections, and trust me, I will be back with a vengeance.
Following a controversial defeat to Usyk in May 2023 that split boxing purists straight down the middle, he returned with vengeance in his veins, knocking out a tough Jarrell Miller in emphatic fashion.
Oh, big shots from Dubois. Miller stumbles to the ropes. Are we going to see another finish? 26 seconds to go.
Dubois giving Big Baby Miller a Brooklyn beat down against the ropes.
Oh, big shot. Big Baby.
Before bloodying the nose at Hrgovic with perhaps the best performance of his career to date.
Oh, big shot. A colossal right hand for Dubois.
This set up a mammoth domestic dust-up at Wembley between Triple D and Joshua, and we all know how that one finished.
One of the shots of the decade.
With Joshua breakdancing on the canvas. Parker, on the other hand, has 13 years experience as a professional, a former world champion who has also recovered well from career setbacks. With a sharp ability to nullify weapons and exhaust fighters with pure boxing skill, he beat two of boxing's biggest punchers in his last two fights, taking both Wilder and Zhang to decisions. Parker has packed on more size going into this fight, but can he disarm the bomb of Daniel Dubois with his elite fighting IQ and experience? Either way, it's going to be fireworks. That fight would be a headline event any day of the year, except for this one. 2024 had its pick of outstanding boxing clashes, but none pleased the purists more than Beterbiev versus Bivol, which proved to be an absolute belter for all the light heavyweight belts. These two were so close in the first matchup, with Bivol's defensive work and counter-punching against the relentless work rate of Beterbiev. It had ebbs and flows in the fight, and it really split boxing fans down the middle on who really won. And this fight was a personal goal for His Excellency to achieve, and it delivered on all fronts, including an action-packed undercard. With this clash of styles, both men now more experienced, the rematch can only be better. Put it simply, it is unbelievable that these two fights will feature on the same night with an absolute fire undercard. It even features a mouth-watering interim clash between Zhang, who was almost in Parker's position might I add, and Ajit Kabayel. This card could legitimately be the greatest overall card to ever grace the sport of boxing. This notion got my brain thinking back to the history of the sport. Are we blindsided by recency bias, or is this card really going to be as good as we think it is? Compared to previous blockbuster events in history, how does this one really compare? On May 2nd, 2015, we saw two pound-for-pound stars, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, battle it out in what was dubbed as the fight of the century.
This has been a long time coming.
The fight of the century.
Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, put up your hands.
At the time, Floyd Mayweather was 38 years old, undefeated at 47-0, and regarded as one of the best defensive boxers in history. Manny Pacquiao, at 36 years old, came in with a record of 57-5-2. And was known for his relentless aggression, speed, and combination punching. The build-up to this fight was immense, as fans couldn't wait to see two of the best fighters of the era face off on American soil. Fight of the century, however, it certainly wasn't. Mayweather employed his signature defensive style, controlling the pace and nullifying Pacquiao's aggression, who was seemingly injured. He won a unanimous decision, but the lack of action left many fans disappointed. Many would argue that 5 years of negotiations took the soul out of the fight, aging the fighters considerably in the process. Beterbiev versus Bivol 2, in comparison, takes place just 5 months after a fight that lived well up to the hype and beyond. So the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight generated a record-breaking $600 million in revenue, with a pay-per-view cost at an extortionate $90. An estimated 400 million people watched the fight, including legal streams, making it one of the most viewed and therefore one of the most successful events in history. This, however, is a poor assessment of the quality of the product that was being sold. The undercard was also lackluster, except for one standout fighter, Vasily Lomachenko. The Ukrainian delivered a masterclass against Gamaliel Rodriguez in the co-main event, showing the world why he would soon be a pound-for-pound star.
So let's see how he looks tonight. Great
Right hook, a combination puts Rodriguez on his knee for the second time in the fight.
Critiques of the event focus on the anticlimactic main event and the lack of exciting undercard fights. However, the financial success and the historical significance, finally seeing Mayweather and Pacquiao clash, cemented its place in boxing history. This event, though, faded in the memory like a dying star and was symbolically followed by the most casual event of all time. Mayweather would go on and fight Conor McGregor, a bout that, by today's standards, would probably headline a Misfits boxing card or be labelled as an exhibition match. I think for clear reasons, we can confidently cut this card from the mix of the greatest ever. Another contestant for the best card that ever took place was on June 28th, 1997. Evander Holyfield, at 33-3, and Mike Tyson with a record of 45-2, faced off in a highly anticipated rematch of their first fight, which Holyfield won by a shocking upset to become the WBA heavyweight world champion.
Holyfield continues to dig in. A left hook to the head. He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's hit. A straight right hand.
At 34 years old, he was seen as a disciplined and tactical fighter, but had tasted defeat fairly recently, including a knockout loss to Riddick Bowe.
He's coming forward. Here comes Holyfield, but he gets caught by a short right. He's hurt, Joe. He is.
Tyson, on the other hand, at 30 years old, was looking to regain his fearsome reputation as the baddest man on the planet with a big knockout over his bitter rival. The fight, held at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, would become infamous for Tyson biting Holyfield's ear in the third round, leading to his disqualification.
What happened here?
The drama overshadowed the actual boxing, but it created one of the most talked about moments in sporting history. Tyson had mentioned he did this because the amount of headbutts he received from the defending champion. The undercard added depth to the event with 4 knockouts, including a fight featuring Mexican legend Julio Cesar Chavez. The event generated $180 million in revenue, roughly $340 million by today's standards, and drew 1.99 million pay-per-view buys with an estimated 50 million viewers globally. Critiques centre on Tyson's unsportsmanlike conduct, but the spectacle and controversy made the event an unforgettable affair. The strong co-main event also helped make it a more well-rounded night of boxing. It did, however, lack the knockout punch it deserved, succumbing to controversy over substance. Although the undercard had some quality, this card on the 22nd brings firepower potential with 3 iconic title fights. It's a tall order to beat this one. Another iconic card occurred October 1st, 1975. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier met for their third and final battle, known as the Thriller in Manila. Ali, at 33, was the reigning undisputed champion and a master of psychological warfare.
You look good, relaxing, man. You don't explain why you dress like you are. Well, that's weird.
Whilst Frazier, also 33, was determined to even the score after their 1-1 record. The fight, held in the sweltering heat of the Araneta Coliseum in the Philippines, was a brutal war of attrition. Ali started strong, using his footwork and jab to dominate early rounds, but Frazier found his rhythm in the middle rounds, punishing Ali's body with relentless pressure. By the 14th round, both men were exhausted. Frazier's trainer, Eddie Futch, stopped the fight, preventing further punishment, and Ali emerged victorious. This fight was so grueling that Ali described it as the closest thing to dying. The event itself was watched by an estimated 1 billion people worldwide, whilst Ali earned $9 million and Frazier earned $5 million. The undercard only included 3 fights, but it did include rising star Larry Holmes, delivering a standout performance. Critiques of the event focused on the limited undercard, but the main event's intensity and historical significance overshadowed this. The appeal of this moment in history is highlighted by the staggering numbers it achieved. It was an iconic card with an iconic moment, but from a purist standpoint, it still lacks depth. Another fight that reached the quality, both figuratively and in action, took place October 30th, 1974. Muhammad Ali faced the undefeated George Foreman, who was 40-0 in the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali, at 32, was an underdog, coming off a 3.5-year suspension and a recent loss to Joe Frazier. Foreman, at 25, was a fearsome knockout artist with incredible power. Held in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the fight showcased Ali's tactical brilliance, using a rope-a-dope strategy. Ali leaned on the ropes, letting Foreman punch himself out. In the 8th round, Ali landed a devastating right hand.
This time he worked over the shoulder of Foreman.
knocking Foreman out and reclaiming the heavyweight crown. This event was watched by 1 billion people and generated $100 million in revenue, equivalent to around about $620 million today. Critiques highlight the weak undercard, but the cultural and historical impact of Ali's victory made this one of the greatest nights in boxing history.
All of you bow, all of my critics crawl, all of you suckers who write the Ring magazine, Boxing Illustrated, all of you suckers bow because the stage was set. I want everybody from this moment on to recognize me as the scholar of boxing.
So how will all these epic nights of boxing compare to the self-proclaimed greatest card of the century? Well, if you're struggling to keep up with boxing, download the Boxing Showtimes app. Get the latest fight schedules, full undercards, boxer stats, news and real-time updates. It's more than just an app, it's the boxing community you'll want to join. Now currently we're looking at these moments through the gaze of hindsight. These events have been affected for good or bad, through the quality of their matchups on the night or historical moments that have whipped up fanfare and engagement in boxing. This even includes the fight of the century, Manny versus Floyd, as it clearly brought a lot of attention to the sport. On their own, these cards definitely featured iconic moments, and we have to look at this up and coming card through the lens of recency bias. However, this event is like no other. From a purist perspective, it is almost impossible to imagine a scenario where this fight card doesn't deliver. The main event is as good as it gets for boxing purists. The rematch for undisputed glory between two modern day greats, Beterbiev and Bivol. The superstardom of these fighters is not comparable to the likes of Ali, Tyson, Frazier or Foreman. This is due to Beterbiev and Bivol's humble, media-adverse personalities and their recent adoption of English to appeal to Western fans. But their lack of superstardom does not hinder their ability. Two men at the top of their game with two elite styles that complement each other. Styles that gel perfectly. Bivol boxing at range and attacking in bursts, whilst Beterbiev applies relentless pressure with a high guard, looking for the stoppage. The fight card of the century, live on DAZN, kicks off with an all-British dust-up between Joshua Buatsi and Callum Smith. One man on his way to the world level, and the other man who's been at the world level. This fight would sell out a stadium in the UK. We're then treated to heavyweight action, featuring two top 5 heavyweights fighting for their shot at the WBC world title next. Zhang versus Kabayel. The ferocious Virgil Ortiz Jr. takes on his toughest test to date, Uzbekistan's Israel Madrimov for the WBC interim title. When you say styles make fights, here you've got another power puncher who's walking forward against a classy boxer with the amateur Uzbeki style that is very hard to hit. Britain's Hamza Shiraz has been dominating the middleweight scene and gets his shot at the WBC middleweight title against defending champion Carlos Adanez. Master of the sweet science, Shakur Stevenson plans to put on another masterclass against a last-minute changing opponent, Josh Padley, after a last-minute cancellation from Floyd Schofield after plenty of drama. Josh Padley is a 15-0 pro whose recent win was an upset victory over Mark Chamberlain. The co-main event features IBF heavyweight world champion Daniel Dubois defending his belt against former world champion Joseph Parker. Both men are in the form of their lives, with Dubois' knockout power clashing against Parker's experience and resilience. And then we have two of the best light heavyweights of this era, Artur Beterbiev, the reigning undisputed champion, with a record of 21-0 and 20 knockouts, well schooled with 300 amateur fights, still proving that age is just a number, fighting at the world level at 40 years old, against the younger man in Dimitri Bivol, with a record of 23-1, who also boasts an incredible amateur career totaling almost 300 fights. Many pundits believe Dimitri won the first fight, and with both men set to improve, the rematch promises to be even bigger. Is this fight card truly the greatest of the century?